Despite being a rider, builder, and a scholar of pretty much only combustion-powered motorcycles, I'm often approached by the world of e-bikes to cover products of the electric variety. And despite the opening word, I do believe that there's something to that. See, I live in the sprawling metropolis of New York City, and due to the ever-growing heavy traffic that's almost always present in the main lanes of the road, there's a heavy emphasis on the side of the road vehicle segment, and by extension, the electric segment. Hell, I even work for an electric moped company as my second job, for Christ's sake. Longboards, pedal bikes, mopeds, scooters, or pasolas, and finally, e-bikes. These side-of-the-road vehicles don't require any sort of license or registration, or if they do, cops largely turn a blind eye. It's why you can pretty much get away with something like this, but I digress. In the past, I covered the $14,000 Cake electric dirt bike in Midtown. Then I spent almost 2 months with the $7,000 Delfast Top 3.0. But with both of those bikes, the main complaint that I would see in the comments is the price tag. So when E-RIDEFOX offered me a bike from their new line that only costs $1,100, I figured this could round things out on the lower side of pricing. So here's the MacFox M20X e-bike, on which I spent a month putting 80 miles on the odometer. MacFox M20X is a 20-inch fat bike style e-bike with aspects pulled from both mountain bikes and BMX bikes. Minus the bench seat, the ergonomics feel very BMX, but the knobbies and front fork scream more off-road or like scrambler. You get a 500 watt motor and a 48 volt 10 amp hour battery, giving you the advertised top speed of about 20 miles per hour, but you can get it up to 24 indicated in its LCD display and 22 GPS via phone with a setting change. It's got a 37-mile range max if you ration your throttle use and use the pedals, but you know me, I got a heavy wrist. It has a Shimano 6-speed derailleur transmission, cable disc brakes, and it weighs in at 66 pounds with a max capacity of 300 pounds, so bigger riders definitely still use this thing. From the ground to the bars, it's almost 4 feet tall and 5.5 feet long, so it's pretty compact. I had the pleasure of getting the first true impressions though, via unboxing it. The box and all of its contents weigh 87 pounds, but it arrived quickly via FedEx from California to New York. The bike comes well packaged in a nicely designed box, so that's a good start. Let's pop it open. Fun fact, the bike is a cousin of the Swift Zip and Hurley Swell, and is actually a decent sized community for those bikes, which I do love because despite being a new model in the line, there's actually a lot of information and research on it already. While I unbox the bike, let's talk about the platform of E-RIDEFOX itself. Essentially, this video covers the M20X, which is in celebration of the platform's own e-bike brand launch, but that's not all that they carry. They actually carry a ton more brands than electric vehicles. From fat bikes of any size, mountain bikes, foldable bikes, cruisers, hell, even one of those crazy fast e-scooters that have like suspension nowadays, which still blows my mind. My neighbor has one and he said it'll hit over 60 miles per hour, man. Honestly, looking at all these options, I want to try all of them. Anyway, I should have a discount code in the description if you're in the market for an electric bike or scooter. Now, when you receive the bike, the main task for assembly will be the handlebars and the pedals, and that's really it. Alright, so there are two boxes of contents. One contains the battery and a pair of keys, and the other one contains a quick start guide, a manual, pedals, charger, and some assembly tools. Right, so the handlebars. Now you can use the supplied Allen key to disassemble the stem and slot the handlebars in. I like this setup because it uses a BMX style handlebar, which is my preferred setup based on the fact that I used to build BMX bikes. Now I'm a big dude, so this lets me roll the handlebars forward and away, which gives me like a greater reach with my arms, and also gives my knees more space so they don't like start hitting my elbows. So once I get it where I like, I torque it all down. I like to also point that I never had any issues with this coming loose and rolling back and forth, so points to them for that. All right, next the pedals. The left side is reverse thread, so be mindful of that. Alright, at this point, the bike is fully assembled. You just gotta slide the battery on. Let it latch in place and then turn the key clockwise to lock it in. There's a master battery switch to flick on, and there's an on button for your controller and the LCD screen itself. The bike does arrive mostly charged, so you're ready to rock from here, but I would recommend giving it a full charge first. If the battery was completely dead, it would take about 5 hours to charge, but the odds are you're never gonna have to get it that low, and you never should, honestly. Alright, so first impressions. The ergonomics are nice, they feel familiar, and I'm not exaggerating when I say like the feeling takes me to a very nostalgic place, because there was a time in my life where, due to an ailment, I was only able to get around via a BMX bike because walking was actually too painful. Anyway, of course, I immediately cranked the assist level up to the max level, which is 3. The bike is heavy on being pedal assist, which means you can't actually set off from a stop without pedaling or at least walking the bike forward. You gotta get it up to 2 miles per hour before the throttle can actually have an effect. As a motorcyclist, I was missing having a mirror instantly, but even on a motorcycle, I always shoulder check, so it wasn't a huge change in habits.
See, this is where this thing really succeeds. It's getting past all this bullshit. So I think the one thing that I would appreciate out of the box on this thing is a mirror. And like, this road is clear. It's clearer than it normally is. Like way clearer. Because like I said, it's just after Christmas. No kids got to go to school. Some people are on vacation still. So the front has an actual suspension on it. The rear is a hardtail, but the front actually has some suspension to it, and I definitely appreciate it when doing shit like this. So you see up ahead, that's where like the train comes up, and then you have like an overpass area where you could go under.
The bike even has cruise control, but it's more like a sort of pace control, which is even better because it doesn't lock you at a certain speed, but it locks you at a certain level of throttle. So if you hit it before top speed, but while holding full throttle, it'll still get you there. To activate, you just hold down the button for 3 seconds or so. I was just figuring that out, so for a decent chunk of this first ride, I accidentally bumped the assist level down to 2, which I didn't even notice until later. To deactivate the cruise control, you just hit the brakes.
Cruise control. Yeah, so you just hold down for a couple seconds and it goes into cruise control. That's what I need. There you go. This little bike would be pretty good for there's videos I used to do called two-wheel touring, or just kind of ride around New York City, showing you the lesser known parts of it. But I mean, like, you can see, like, this is more like the traffic that I'm used to when I'm driving down this road to work, you know, because it's kind of bunching up. It was too fast in the beginning, and now all the traffic's caught up. And this is like the speed that I'm used to traveling, you know what I mean? I mean, it makes sense, especially on the road like this where you got a protected lane. This turning lane is red, but the straight, that's still green, so just go for it. For the last few years, I worked at a company called Revel, and that's definitely a company that, again, New Yorkers are gonna know. But they do like shared electrical mopeds, and the Revels could get to 30, so that'd be sick if these could. Sorry, bro. Just a hooligan, don't mind me. When you're launching, you have to pedal. You can't just, although there's probably a way to hack it, let's be honest. There's no way to launch without using the pedals. You have to use the pedal to get that initial push, and then you put the throttle on. There's a safe way to cut through a light. You just gotta road stop it, pay attention. A lot of people I see, they just fly fucking through it. That's what I don't condone. Because I'm almost at my job. I'm going to Revzilla to work my shift. This is just like a real life test, you know? So I was kind of betting being on time to work on this bike working. It didn't disappoint, so that's good. The other thing I like about this bike is that it's like, it's built like a BMX bike. So it kind of feels, it feels very familiar. I'm like trying to go back to the track that I would take if I was in my car, but I'm on a bike. Living in New York City like really caters to something like this because you're just going around town, you know what I mean? You don't really have, honestly, the speed limit in New York is 25, but a lot of the times you can't even really hit that because traffic is so bad. Again, today's an anomaly, but I'll show you like after all the traffic is back and you'll see. I wish they would have gave me 2. I could have gave it to somebody. We could have just rolled out with these things.
The brakes are strong enough to lock up, and you can lock up the back for a skid, and you can lock up the front for an endo. The brakes are squeaking here, but that's just because I gotta clean them and grease them. I won't hold that against the bike. I even instantly began to think about how I could customize this thing and make it my own.
Ooh, vet? Okay. The thing is nice. You know, I really want to customize this thing. You know, just looking at the kind of like the sort of, if you squint, cafe like look to it. You know what I mean? Like, kind of see in the mirror. Like, I feel like this thing will lend itself well to customization. 70-something% battery left, which is pretty good if you ask me. 6 miles.
But of course, we still gotta make it home after work. So the MacFox comes equipped with a front and rear light for those night rides. The front is a bright LED with an adjustable angle, and the rear is a red running light. You know, just a running light, no brake function. The headlight does a good job of both making you more visible and lighting up the road immediately in front of you.
Is there a reason you have to be in the bike lane? What the fuck is going on? Come on, make the turn.
Having a lot of experience with electric Revel scooters, the name of the game with these bikes is truly the conservation of speed. It's New York, so there's a lot of obstacles and intersections to navigate around and through, respectively. It takes a little bit of time to get up to speed, so yeah, every little bit of weirdness on the road kind of gets to you a little bit more. Although as a native New Yorker, I'm kind of always in a rush.
The thing is actually pretty comfortable as well. Like, they have these like resting pads, I guess you could say, on the grips, even though the grips are like really high up, so you're not really putting that much weight down on them. This thing will hold its own.
It'll hold its own, indeed. At this point, traffic was at a more realistic level at 5 p.m. And you can kind of see, I can more or less keep up with cars in motion, and then I just zip around them when they have to stop.
What's that? CB750? Yeah, this thing is a lot of fun. I wish I had a buddy with an e-bike. We ride out with them. Like, I'm not really wanting for speed because, as you can see, like, I'm keeping up with traffic, no problem, because this is just the speed that you do in New York City. Like, I could see how this bike would be slow for, like, you know, towns. Yeah, I'm really grateful for this thing. If I would change anything, again, I would put a mirror on this thing. This thing should have came with a mirror from the jump. Put a mirror and a horn as well. Honestly, I don't really care that much about the 20 miles per hour top speed. I just wish I had more like power getting there. You know what I mean? That's why I think that it would be cool if it had a little bit more juice.
After that first commute, I was pleased to realize that the bike is light enough to carry upstairs to my apartment, as I thought I would have to leave it in the hallway downstairs. Granted, I'm a typically strong dude, so you know. Following that day, I would then proceed to ride the bike to work unironically. I drive a big old car with terrible gas mileage, and commuting to work is actually faster on the bike due to traffic and lights both ways. When compared to my motorcycle, it's comparable time-wise to get to work and back, but because even though you can double the speed on a motorcycle, you still have to stop and wait at lights, you know what I mean? Plus the motorcycle is efficient, but it still does use some gas. So that said, if I want to kind of extend the sort of time frame of my motorcycle's gas tank, then I could take the bike and get around with zero costs.
Something about being able to do shit like this. There's something about moving at your own pace, you know what I mean? Like, moving at your own pace, but ultimately being limited by how fast you could go. I am in such a chill state. I'm really enjoying it, because like when you're in a car, you know, during rush hour right now, you're stuck in traffic going slow. Fucking, I got an older car, so like I'm just like constantly afraid it's gonna break down. My bike, I'm just moving as quick as I fucking can, just because like what it is really is just a change of pace. Like, I'm a car person, but like New York is not car friendly at all, and it's only getting even less so.
With an optimized route, I was able to get to work in 23 minutes. In a car, it's a 40-something minute trip from East New York to Revzilla, but the e-bike cuts that right in half. Again, it's on par with a reasonably responsible motorcycle ride due to stoplights. The e-bike has its place despite its raw speed limit, and as a personal challenge, I guarantee that I can cut that time down even more. I began to kind of toy around with the menu settings, which can be accessed like any other e-bike. Long story short, some of the settings can be changed, but the controller, I guess, like overrides them. Like, I changed the level of assists to 9, but it doesn't actually make the bike accelerate any harder with the stock hardware. I also changed the top speed via changing the, I think it's like the wheel size setting. The bike will read up to 24 miles per hour now, and I wanted to test it, so I rode with the GPS speedometer on my phone, and the highest that the phone would reach was 22 miles per hour when 24 was indicated, so I guess we gained another 2 miles per hour. Alright, so to wrap up this video, here's my final thoughts. The MacFox M20X is a very solid, what you see is what you get option for an around town e-bike. As far as negative, I would have liked to see a mirror out of the box, a taller set of transmission gears because the pedaling aspect begins to run out of use at about 10 miles per hour. And I would say a bigger battery because, I mean, yes, you can reach the advertised range, but not when you're throttle heavy like me. Like, it's not even close. The range will drop and the bike will begin to limit the top speed to only 15 miles per hour when below 50%. The problem is the transmission is so short that you can't really pedal any faster either when the bike limiter kicks in. Acceleration and top speed is what it is. I mean, it's only a 500 watt bike and the bike costs $1,099. I mean, out of the box, how does it compare to a Zeus? Well, a Fox weighs 10 pounds more than a Zeus, has less power, but then again, it costs less than half as much. I would also say that the Fox is a much more comfortable bike with its front fork, better seat, and fat squishy tires. What about an RSD Super 73 RX? Now the Fox costs almost 4 times less, but it loses out on the rear suspension compared to the Super 73 and also the same power deficit. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm already looking into mods because you know me. I have to tinker. And I have already found sites and subreddits about the Zip, Swell, and MacFox platform where people have pushed these bikes beyond their limits in terms of both style and function. With some research and effort, you can honestly make this bike better than a Super 73 or a Zeus or really any other e-bike, and that's exactly what I tend to do and document. I'm always looking to expand my horizons, and with the ever more annoying city that I live in, the MacFox feels like a great starting point out of the box to get into electric bikes. I look forward to putting more miles on this bike. My idea is to use it for the two-wheel touring videos to bring that series back, but if you have any ideas for content, please do share them below. Again, great thanks to E-RIDEFOX for working with little old me, and thank you, the viewer, for watching. All right, safe riding out there.